I traveled into my own darkness and discovered powers no one talks about. They say the light is where the answers are, but that's not where I found mine. I found them in the dark. Not the kind of darkness you see when you close your eyes, but the kind that lives inside you, behind your thoughts, beneath your smiles, under the surface of every moment you pretend to be okay. I went into that darkness because I had no choice. Life pushed me, or maybe my soul did. Either way, I fell. But what I found there, it changed everything. Not just my ideas, not just my beliefs, but my being. And that's what I want to share with you today. Because in that darkness, buried beneath shame, fear, rage, grief, and numbness, are powers most people never touch. Not because they're not worthy of them, but because they've been trained to fear their own depth. You and I, we've been conditioned to chase the light, to be positive, to avoid pain. But what if the very thing you're avoiding is the thing that holds the key to your liberation? What if the parts of you that you've labeled too much, too broken, too dark, are actually doorways to ancient gifts that your soul has been carrying all along? The first power I found was the power of shadow alchemy. This is the ability to turn your deepest wounds into sacred wisdom. Most people run from their pain. They label it as negative and try to spiritually bypass it with love and light mantras. But when I finally stopped running and sat with my pain, really sat with it, without trying to fix it or change it, I discovered something shocking. My pain had intelligence. It wasn't there to punish me. It was there to wake me up. Every wound was a teacher. Every heartbreak a mirror. Every trigger a compass pointing to a part of myself I had abandoned. When you stop resisting your shadows, they start revealing their secrets. And the secret is this: your pain is not your enemy. It's your portal. But here's the thing, they don't give you the treasure for free. You have to earn it. You have to feel what you never wanted to feel. You have to sit in the fire without knowing when it will end. That's why most people never unlock this power. Because it demands honesty. Radical, brutal honesty. With yourself, with your story, with your soul. And this is where the second power rises. The power of inner truth. When you go deep enough into your darkness, you start to hear a voice that is not your ego, not your conditioning, not your fear. It's a voice that whispers, not in words, but in knowing. It says, this is who you really are. Not the version people expect. Not the one who fits in. But the raw, unfiltered essence of you. And when you hear that voice, you can't unhear it. This truth is not always convenient. In fact, it usually shatters everything. It breaks relationships that were built on false masks. It disrupts careers that were never aligned with your soul. It forces you to face how you sold yourself out just to be accepted. But once you taste that truth, you can never go back. And here's what's wild. When you stop lying to yourself, your energy changes. People can feel it. You don't have to prove anything anymore. You are the proof. You walk into a room and your frequency does the talking. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. That's what happens when your soul is no longer buried beneath your performance. Now, when that truth begins to rise, so does something even deeper. The power of sacred rage. Most people have been taught that anger is a problem, something to suppress, to control, to avoid. But what if I told you your rage is sacred? That underneath your fury is divine fire, pure, ancient life force energy that's been waiting to be reclaimed. When I allowed myself to feel my rage, not lash out, not project, But I realized it wasn't about destruction. It was about boundaries. It was about reclaiming my space, my power, my voice. Sacred rage is the power to say, no more pretending, no more silence, no more shrinking. It's the roar of the soul that says, I will no longer betray myself to keep others comfortable. Have you ever wondered why your anger scares you so much? Could it be that deep down you know how powerful it actually is? Could it be that your rage is not the problem, but the suppression of it is? Because when you integrate your sacred rage, you become unstoppable, not violent, not reactive, but clear. You stop playing small. You stop tolerating things that drain your spirit. And in that clarity, you begin to carve a new path. A path that isn't about survival. It's about sovereignty. That leads us to the fourth power, and it's one that's often misunderstood, the power of aloneness. Not loneliness, aloneness. The kind of solitude that strips away all distractions and forces you to face yourself completely. Most people run from this space. They fill it with noise, with people, with endless doing. But when you finally sit in that sacred aloneness and stop filling it with things to avoid the emptiness, you discover something miraculous. You are the thing you were looking for. You're not empty. You're vast. You're not lost. You're boundless. In that silence, you meet the part of yourself that never needed to be validated, compared, or fixed. You meet the part of you that is whole. And from that place, you stop needing the world to complete you. You begin to walk with a peace that doesn't come from having the answers, but from no longer needing them. And here's where the journey takes a turn most don't expect. Because once you've touched that inner peace, once you've tasted your own power, life will test you. It will send you back into the world, not to escape, but to embody. And that's where the fifth power begins to awaken, the power of embodied shadow. This is the ability to walk through the world as you are, not polished, not perfect, but real. This power doesn't seek applause. It doesn't seek to be understood. It simply is. You start to live from your center instead of your surface. You speak when it's true, not when it's easy. You rest when your soul says rest, not when the world says you've earned it. You begin to live from the inside out. And the world begins to reflect that back to you, not always with comfort, but always with truth. So let me ask you something, and I want you to sit with this, not just in your mind, but in your body. What part of you have you labeled too dark that might actually be your greatest gift? Think about it. That part of you you've buried, rejected, hidden from the world. What if it's not your shame? What if it's your superpower? What if your darkness isn't a flaw, but a forge? We've only scratched the surface. The deepest powers, the ones that transcend explanation and break reality wide open, are still waiting. In the next part, I'm going to take you into them. We'll explore the sixth and seventh rare powers, the ones that activate when you no longer fear your own divinity. Powers that bend time, perception, energy. Powers that make you magnetic, not because of what you say, but because of who you've become. And I'll show you how to use them, not to escape life, but to master it. The powers they never told you about: time, energy, and the magnetic soul. By the time you've touched the fire of sacred rage, the silence of aloneness, and the stillness of your embodied shadow, something irreversible starts to happen. Your perception of time begins to shift. This is the sixth rare power, the power to collapse time through presence. Most people live in a constant state of delay. They think peace is in the future, Success is in the future. Love is in the future. But when you've walked through your own darkness and seen that the only thing real is now, you stop chasing someday. You begin to collapse time by bringing your full presence into the moment. What you used to accomplish in months, you now do in days. What used to take years of searching, you access in minutes of stillness. Because time is not linear when your energy is aligned, it's responsive. The universe starts to meet you at the frequency you embody, not the one you perform. It's almost as if the universe recognizes that you're finally serious. Not serious in your words, but in your energy. You're no longer begging for signs, you are the sign. You're no longer asking for something to change out there. You've changed in here, and so time bends for you. People arrive when they're supposed to. Opportunities open as if on cue. But not because you're lucky, because you've stopped leaking energy into pretending, performing, and projecting. That's the deeper magic here. When you stop resisting your life starts to move with you. And this leads us into the seventh and final power, the one that changes everything once it's activated, the power of magnetic energy. You've seen it before. That person who walks into a room and everyone turns their head, not because they're loud, not because they're beautiful by society's standards, but because something about them pulls. That's not charisma, that's coherence. When your inner world is aligned, your outer world responds. You become magnetic, not through manipulation, but through truth. Your presence speaks louder than your voice. Your silence becomes a sermon, and people feel it. Not just people, reality itself responds. Your thoughts move faster. Your intentions carry more weight. Your energy starts to shape the field around you. You're no longer trying to get things. You attract them by becoming the version of you who's already whole. And it's not about being positive all the time. That's still a mask. Magnetism is not perfection, it's authenticity. The messier and more honest you are about your journey, the more powerful your field becomes. Because people are starving for realness. They don't need another guru. They need someone who's walked through hell and came back with their soul intact. That's what you become when you unlock these rare powers. You become a mirror, not of who people want to be, but of who they already are beneath the noise. And that's the greatest gift you can give this world, your unfiltered, unapologetic presence. But here's the truth few will tell you. These powers don't come without cost. You will lose things. You will lose people. You will lose identities you clung to for years. You'll outgrow stories, environments, and even dreams that once meant everything to you. That's the price. But what you gain is priceless. You gain yourself. Not the version crafted by fear or culture, but the version that existed before any of that. The version that came into this world with fire in your bones and wisdom in your blood. And once you reclaim that, there's no going back. You stop asking life for permission. You start giving yourself the authority to live fully, speak boldly, love wildly, and be deeply. So let me ask you something now, something that only your soul can answer. If you stopped fearing your own power, how much of your life would change? Not just your career, or your relationships, or your health, but your experience of being alive. If you stopped apologizing for your depth, your intensity, your truth, what would become possible? What would you create? What would you allow? Who would you finally become? We've now walked through 6 of the 7 rare powers hidden in your darkness. But there is one final piece, a secret that ties it all together. A power that doesn't just change your life, but changes the lives of everyone you touch. It's not about being powerful. It's about becoming a source of power. In the next part, we'll explore this final transmission, the one that turns pain into purpose, silence into leadership, and your very presence into a spiritual revolution. The final power, becoming the flame that awakens the world. There is a moment after you've faced your shadows, burned in your sacred rage, sat in the silence of your own aloneness, and begun to collapse time through embodiment, when something strange begins to happen. You stop identifying as the one seeking the light. You realize you are the light, not the glittery, performative kind, not the spiritual influencer kind, but the kind of light that burns quietly in the dark, unwavering even when no one is watching. And that's when the final rare power begins to emerge. It's not flashy. It doesn't announce itself. It simply is. The power to be a living flame, to become a source of transformation for others, not through preaching, but through being, through frequency, through presence, through the unspoken truth that emanates from your very existence. This is the power that can't be faked. It only awakens when your soul has been tempered by fire, when you've faced parts of yourself that most people will spend a lifetime avoiding, when you've looked into your own abyss and didn't flinch, when you've stayed in the silence long enough for it to speak. By this point, you don't need to convince anyone of anything. You don't need to teach, quote scripture, or prove your knowledge with credentials. You walk into a room and people feel something shift. Not because you're trying to be powerful, but because you've become empty enough for the divine to speak through you. You've moved out of the way, and that's what makes you powerful beyond measure. This is the rarest power because it requires the death of all performance. You stop trying to be spiritual. You stop trying to be awakened. You even stop trying to heal because you realize there's nothing broken. There's only forgetting and remembering. And you, through your presence, become a reminder to others of what they forgot. They don't know why they feel more alive around you. They don't know why they start crying in your presence, or why they suddenly feel safe being themselves. But you know, it's because you've done the inner work. You've sat with your demons so long that they've become your allies. You've loved your wounds so deeply, they've turned into wisdom. And now, you carry that frequency wherever you go. But here's the paradox. The more powerful you become energetically, the less you need to be seen. You no longer crave attention, validation, or recognition. You don't need 1 million followers. You don't need applause. You don't even need to be understood. Your power is not in your visibility. It's in your vibration. And that's what makes it unstoppable. Because when you're no longer driven by ego, when you're moved only by truth, you become a vessel for something much larger than yourself. Call it spirit, call it source, call it the divine. Whatever name you give it, it's real. And it's flowing through you, not because you earned it, but because you cleared the space for it to enter. That's the final test, isn't it? Not whether you can access power, but whether you can hold it. Whether you can carry it without using it to dominate, manipulate, or inflate your identity. Whether you can walk with it quietly, humbly, and fiercely all at once. Can you hold power and still remain human? Can you embrace your divinity without forgetting your humanity? Because the deeper you go, the more you realize there is no separation. The sacred and the ordinary are the same. Washing dishes can be a prayer. Making love can be a portal. Grieving can be a ceremony. And your life, your entire life, becomes the temple. Let me ask you something now, maybe the most important question of all. If your presence could ignite something in others, without words, without effort, what would you choose to radiate? Would it be peace, truth, courage? Would it be permission for others to stop pretending? Because that's what this final power makes possible. You don't need to do so much anymore. You are the work. You are the permission slip. You are the flame. And when people touch your energy, they remember something ancient in themselves. They remember who they were before the world told them who to be. So this is the truth that no one told you. The rarest powers, the ones hidden in the darkest parts of you, are not powers you acquire. They are powers you remember. And the remembering happens not through effort, but through surrender, through stripping away everything that isn't true, through allowing the darkness to do what it came to do, not destroy you, but reveal you. And when that revelation happens, when you stop being afraid of your own soul, you don't just awaken, you become an awakening for everyone around you. Even after you've awakened these powers, life doesn't stop testing you. In fact, the tests become subtler, more refined, almost invisible unless you're fully present. The world will still try to pull you back into unconsciousness, into ego, into the old patterns of proving, performing, and pleasing. But now, the difference is, you notice. You feel the dissonance in your body before your mind can even name it. You catch yourself clinging, grasping, reacting, and in that moment of awareness you are given a choice. Go back to sleep or stay awake. This is where the real mastery begins. Not in avoiding the darkness, but in meeting it over and over again with love. Can you be present in the moment you forget who you are and choose to remember again without shame, without judgment, without collapse? There's something sacred about the way this power humbles you. Just when you think you've arrived, you're shown another layer, another blind spot, another unhealed wound you didn't know was still there. But instead of seeing this as failure, you begin to see it as grace. Because now, every trigger is a teacher. Every heartbreak is an initiation. Every delay is divine timing. You no longer resist the spiral. You trust its intelligence. You understand that awakening is not a one-time event. It is a lifetime devotion. A devotion to truth, to presence, to remembering again and again that you are not your story, not your pain, not your past. You are the awareness behind it all. And from that awareness, you begin to live with a kind of quiet, grounded power that no one can take from you. You become like a mountain, still, rooted, unmoved by storms, but not cold or distant. You are alive, vibrating with the frequency of someone who has seen and stayed, someone who didn't run from the dark, but made a home in it. And from that home you begin to serve, not with ego, not with superiority, but with the wisdom of someone who knows how easy it is to forget. And so you don't try to save anyone. That's not your job, but you do hold space. You do shine. You do live in such a way that your presence invites others into their own depth. You don't force them to awaken. You remind them that they can, that they already are, that the same fire that burned in you lives in them. This is the secret of all great spiritual teachers, not that they had more knowledge, but that they had more emptiness, more willingness to be nothing so that something divine could flow through them. And now, you begin to walk that path too, not because you want to be a teacher, but because life wants to teach through you. Every conversation becomes a mirror. Every interaction, a chance to embody what you've remembered. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply be. Fully, authentically, without hiding, without shrinking, without trying to be anything other than what you are in this moment. And here's the beauty. The more you live this way, the more life rearranges itself around your truth. People fall away, but the right ones show up. Opportunities dry up, but aligned ones emerge. Circumstances shift, not because you're controlling them, but because you're finally in harmony with them. You're not chasing outcomes anymore. You're listening. You're responding. You're dancing with the mystery instead of trying to dominate it. This is what it means to be powerful. Not to control reality, but to co-create with it consciously, moment by moment, from the deepest part of your being.
So now I leave you with one final question. One that only your soul can answer, and only your life can express. What becomes possible when you finally stop hiding the parts of you that were never meant to be hidden, not just for you, but for everyone who will one day be changed, not by your words, not by your knowledge, but by your presence, by your courage to walk into the dark and return with light. Because in the end, these rare powers aren't just for you. They are through you, for the world. You are the living flame, and the world is waiting.